Good afternoon. And we are going to start by looking at a topic which is related to what we are discussing here, but more than subject matter, it is something I noticed, especially when some of you are sending and receiving, sending me emails. I thought it is important that I cover it separately because this is not related to the syllabus directly, but then as users of email, I think you should know how to use email properly. So I think there are some gaps there, which I think is important for you in the longer run, as you will be using email not just at the university, but when you graduate, hopefully from the university and go to work or find you are trying to apply for jobs, uh, other professional engagements, you will be using email. So I will share some important tips and also relate some of my experiences in using email. Right. So today's lessons first part is about email etiquette or how to use email properly. Uh, Basically, when you talk of now in when you are if you are driving a vehicle, there is a license that you need to possess because there are certain rules that you need to follow. So when you if you are driving a vehicle, as you know, there is a driving license that you need to get, and whether it is a bicycle, whether it's a motor bicycle or a car or a van or a larger thing, you will need this. You need a license. However, when it comes to using the internet or sending emails, we don't need. I mean, we may be used to it, but we are not. We don't have a particular rule set. More than a rule set, it's like a best practices or the behavior that is counted. Now, for example, similarly, when you're going on the road, you don't need a license to go on the road. But then, as you know, there are bad practices in going on the road as well as good practices. If you're as a pedestrian, as a normal person who's walking on the side of the road. So, when it comes to emails, this there is no rule, but these practices which are followed today, you will need, especially when you are communicating with uh, maybe someone other than a close friend. So if it's a close friend or a relative, maybe you can do it anything as you wish. But if you are going to talk with, rather communicate with someone on email today, I think this using email properly is very important. So let's look at what you need to be aware of. So I started using email back around 1996 when I first connected to the internet. I was probably an undergraduate at the time, uh, and it was I when you first start using it, uh, you don't follow rules or you don't know what a rule is. Of course, email has developed since 1990s. At the same time, you follow when in my case, I received emails uh, from others and I've learned from those. So මට අපි ඕන කෙනෙක් ඊමේල් භාවිතය ගත්තොත් එහෙම මුලින්ම අපි සම්බන්ධ වෙනකොට අපි ඒක භාවිත කරද්දී විශේෂ ප්‍රැක්ටිස් එකක් නැතුව තමයි භාවිත වෙන්නේ. හැබැයි අපි අනික් අය එවන විදි එවන මේල්ස් දැක්කොත් ඒ හරහා අපිට ඉගෙන ගන්න පුළුවන් දේවල් තියෙනවා. So basically I'm condensing to today's lesson here some of my experiences as I've learned from others and my own good practices as well. So the first thing that you need to consider here is how many email accounts you are using. Um, so in most cases, it is more than one. In your cases, I'm sure it's more than one. Now already you have two email accounts at least. One is most probably an email which you're using personally for your correspondence, and then the university has given you an email account, right? How many of you are still unable to access that? තාම මෙතන කී දෙනෙක් ඉන්නවද SJP email එක access කරන්න බැරි අය? How many of you are still having problems with accessing the SJP email? I sent the Coursera invitation to that email, so I assume that most of you are can access it properly. Uh, but there are some who I think were having difficulties resetting the password. I told you to reset the password from ITRC. How many other email accounts do you have? Maybe two or three. It could be more. So how many do you need depends on what type of work you are doing. You could actually use one. If you are, if you are just an undergraduate, you can still use one. But then, as the amount of volume of email that we get and the importance of emails that you use, the number of accounts might vary. So I get, uh, on a day, I read around 20 to 30 emails. I read, but I get maybe 100 more, right? Uh, so there are obviously more that I don't read per day, which I just delete. Uh, Now, some of your emails, which if you have, now I think most of you have emailed me, you would notice I normally have responded most of your emails within an hour or two. මම හිතන්නේ ඔයගොල්ලෝ එකපො කිසි කවුරු හරි මට email කරා නම් පැයක් හෝ දෙකක් වගේ කාලෙකදී මම සාමාන්‍යයෙන් email කළා තියෙනවා සාමාන්‍යයෙන්. So I'm usually very responsive to emails. But some of the emails that I received, I don't think I should have responded because the way they have been sent. So I have to be careful. I don't send reply for every email I get. මට එන හැම email එකකම ප්‍රතිචාර දක්වන්නේ නැහැ. ප්‍රතිචාර දක්විය යුතු email වලට තමයි දක්වන්නේ. So in your case, I of course not consider that as a restriction. I email any email I got from you. So now, for example, in my case, I give priority for my university emails. මට university email account එක ඇත්තටම ගත්තොත් මම ඒක high priority එකක් විදිහට සලකනවා. So anyone who sends me that email I have, because it's my university email, that's the only thing I've given to the university to communicate, I use it. But I have personal emails also. I have a Gmail account. I have several Gmail accounts. Those I don't check often. So මගේ Gmail accounts ගත්තොත් මම දිනපතා දවසකට එක දෙතුන් පාරක් ඒකට ප්‍රතිචාර දක්වනවා. I check always. I mean, I get it always, but I don't respond often. Sometimes now, for example, Gmail accounts, there is a 15 GB also limit. So I might consider that as a problem. If I have a rather large email user, so I might use multiple mailboxes. Sometimes you can save files within your email. So then again, you might need multiple email boxes, right? So if you ask me this question, how many email accounts I use? I use around 5 email accounts, right? Which I need. Which basically I will not check daily. සමහර ඒවා මම දිනපතා check කරන්නේ නැහැ. But most of them I do check. Now, in your case, what is important? You have a university email account. I think you should check that. Then there might be a personal email account, right? For example, you apply for a job, internship, right? Things like the scholarship, right? Course, some financial assistance. Then you might need to use that, check that. Then you might have Facebook related or some other, social media services. Those emails are not so important. Even from Coursera, you will get weekly emails. Maybe that's not so important. Then there are other emails you never subscribe to, but you get to you. So these are things that I consider as spam email. We'll learn more about spam later. So how many emails should you need? I'm not going to ask here, but I would say you at least need 2 today. You would have 2 definitely, but more than 2, right? But you don't need 10 or 15 generally, right? I mean, that's not necessary. I mean, you won't check so many email accounts. So one of the problems I've noticed with some students is this. For official correspondence, use an email user ID which represents you. Now, in your case, the university email account is an ID. It's an ID like the MC, I think it's the MC number. But your email, what you consider as your email when you put in a CV or something, it should represent you. This is not the case, unfortunately, for some. සමහර අය මට email එවනවා. Let's say Lanka Communications or My Shop Private Limited. Now, right, that's the email that they have some other business and they're using that to communicate. So it's a little confusing then, because the user name doesn't have your name on it, and even the email address actually might be, even be different, but then the name you how you use it, තමන්ගේ email account එකේ නම user name එක හා ඒකට තියෙන label එක දෙකම තමන්ට සම්බන්ධ බවක් පේන්න ඕනේ, right? So if especially if you are trying to apply for a university, so let's say for a job, if you use something like sales at company.com or who am I at gmail.com, like some silly you know you know uh, naming thing, it might look odd, right? I don't think that has any, it won't, I don't think it will give you any new leads. තොර තමන්ගේ මේ email එක මෙන්න මේ වගේ who am I or something like that. If you have anything like that, I don't think it really has a sense. I didn't. I have all your emails, but I think I didn't notice any email accounts of that type in your account. So I think let me just check your email accounts. I have 40 odd email accounts of all of yours, and right. So normally I think it is generally corresponding to your email account corresponds to your name. So I don't think a big problem exists. Right. How frequently do you check email? Now this is something I think some of you are a little lacking. So can you just type how frequently do you check? So if you ask me this, I don't actually check email. Most of the time I get notifications if I get an email. If you are using a smartphone, you can enable these things. So it sometimes is useful, but sometimes it can be a distraction as well. තමන්ට වැඩිය email දිනකට එන්නේ නැත්නම් notifications දාලා දෙන එක lazy. So if you put up notifications, you will know in your phone when you get a message or an email. But otherwise, you should at least check once a day. Right? So as students, I think once a day you should check, not only check and respond. So in today's world, the if you now if you the a reasonable time expectation of a reply to an email is one working day. මට කවුරු හරි කෙනෙක් email එකක් මට එවුවොත් මම හිතන්නේ අද ලෝකේ සාමාන්‍යයෙන්, although it's not a standard, again a practice generally is you expect a response in one day. Sometimes it could be a few days, but it's not the norm. Actually, I learned this the hard way, or rather from my when I was applying for my PhD. Right. So in 2010, I tried to. I was applying for a scholarship in Japan. I got the scholarship. Then I was corresponding with my professor in Japan. So then one day, he sent me an email. I sent him a reply 2 days later. So I didn't consider much. He sent me on Monday. I sent it reply on Wednesday. Then he sends me another reply saying, "Thank you very much for your email," and he answers whatever I said, and says at the end, "By the way, I sent this email 2 days ago." So මට මේ email එක මගේ මහාචාර්යතුම මම එයාගේ email එකට ප්‍රතිචාර දැක්වුවම මට ආපහු ප්‍රතිඵලයක් එවනවා, "මම ඔයාට මේක එව්වේ දවස් දෙකකට ඉස්සරලා" කියලා. In other words, it's an indirect message telling me that that's not what he expects from me as a student, right? With working with him. So that's where that's one of the ways where in which I really sort of really struck me that you can't communicate with people, professionals today, if you can't reply within a day. So if you are having a smartphone and office environment, of course you might be doing other work. So generally people respond within working day. Sometimes normally people work like check or respond to email several days. If you check, there are enough guides on when to check email, how you should be. So one of the things that people say is, don't respond to emails early morning. Early morning, use your time more productively. Like if it's an urgent mail, of course fine, but you must have planned work in the morning, and then by evening when you go, before you go, you complete your emails. This is something I actually practice as well. So if it's something which I can do it 1 minute, I will send a reply immediately. But if it's taking longer, I might not respond for that until I do it. right? So um, basically, emails today is more convenient way to use email because we have smartphones, right? Because on a smartphone you can check email, send email anywhere, wherever you are, on the bus, walking, so anything you can use, or riding a train, right? You can respond, right? So you don't need to. Your phone is sufficient to send and receive email. But of course, on the other hand, uh, we are constantly connected today. අද අපි පැය 24ම සම්බන්ධ වෙන ජාලයකට. That actually is a distract. That's not good for in some cases, because some companies expect you to respond immediately. But people should have a personal time as well. අපි email ගත්තාම ඒක ආයතනකින් ඔබට email account එකක් දෙනවා. If you get an email come from a company, then of course you have a right to disconnect. This is especially in Europe. යුරෝපේ ගත්තොත් එහෙම මේ right to disconnect කියන එක සාමාන්‍ය practice වෙන දෙයක්. So in others, on the weekend people don't respond to emails. තමන් රැකියාවෙන් හවසට ගියාට පස්සේ නිවාඩු වෙලාවෙදි reply කරන්නේ, right? So that's because people don't want to take work home. So it depends, right? But in general, that's you can't expect your employees to get reply on like on non-working days. But if there's an urgent need, of course this can be exception. You can accept and make exceptions. So how many emails do you get, or how many emails are in your inbox today? තමන්ගේ email inbox එකේ කීයක් විතර mail තියෙනවද? කීයක් පේන්න තියෙනවද? Can someone type a value? How many is there in your inbox today? So I don't want to share my direct email account, but I will show you my I will just share you my screen for a second. So right, this is my university email account. You see here there are only 7 emails. Some of actually I have 3 emails that I'm working on. This is something which is a little old, but it's been snoozed. I'll talk about snoozing. So this email I just responded to. See, the email came at 12:11. I responded at 12:17. Now I replied, right? Now I don't need to look at this, so I will snooze this until Saturday. So I don't have to see that. Similarly, this one I won't be able to do today, so I will just snooze that until maybe next Monday. This one also until Wednesday. This also until Wednesday, right? So and again, yeah, so I can actually, so I don't have, these are not urgent things that I might need to. So again, this might I can snooze until Wednesday morning. So I'm not delaying them, but I might, right now I'm busy until Wednesday. So if someone responds to me, I might so that's how my email works. So as you can see here, I know what happens to my emails that I respond. I archive it, and also you will see here I have lists managed. So when you have large number of emails, I use mail rules. You can set up mail rules in Gmail on this, right? You can set up a filter. By filtering, I categorize emails into different categories. So this is a mail listing for ISOC, or Internet Society Sri Lanka, which I am a member. So all those emails go here, right? I don't read it. I read it when I have time. This is ACSB. This is our faculty is connected to ACSB, is a UK certification, so US certification, the Association of Advanced Collegiate School of Business. I think in Sri Lanka, several faculties are members, including our faculty or our university. So there is a forum. I don't look at this. As you see, there are lots of emails I have not checked. I don't need to. These are not important. If I have time, I will check. Right. So this is again a member list. I don't check this. Right. So it's just there. So what is important for me is here. Then I have tabs here. These have some emails like 100 is here. So this is today from, I think, from your group. I think when they connect to Zoom, I just delete this. I don't need them, right? And this one again, I just check it's not needed for me. I'll delete it. So I might not need this, right? So what I don't need, I just delete. If I need it, maybe later I will archive it. So that's how I schedule my emails. So snoozing, that is to put back. I want to act on it sometime later, not today. I don't want to look at them. I hate looking at emails which I don't need to work on right now. If I am, so I use filters, as I mentioned, to monitor my emails or rather sort them out. I use tabs, the ones at the top on Gmail. There are 4 or 5 tabs. You can just shift emails to rule on them. Again, to group frequent emails, not so important emails, I use tabs. Archive, because I don't want to look at emails that have nothing to do. තමන්ගේ email එකට තමන්ට ආපු email එකට මොනවත් කරන්න දෙයක් නැත්නම්, if there's nothing for you to do for that email, I would archive it. I don't have to look at it later. If I need, I can find it. So sometimes archiving doesn't delete it. It just goes to your, you don't see it, but it's there with your store. So sometimes if you're running out of space, of course you can delete large emails with large addresses. You can find out how to do this. It's not difficult. Emails which are not useful further, for example, Zoom notifications, I just delete it, right? Email account verification mails, welcome emails, welcome to Coursera, just delete it. In the middle of all of this, there are some emails that get to you which you never asked for or unsolicited. සමහරවිට තමන්ට email තියෙනවා, මේ email එක තමන් බලාපොරොත්තු එකක් නෙමෙයි. So it's not something you wrote to. So it's a situation where you might not want it, so you don't know how it got to you. So generally, you don't reply to them and ask. Don't waste your time on them. Right? Number one, if it's spam, you might actually remove yourself sometimes if it's possible, but in most cases it might not be possible. So it's better to mark it as spam. Then it will never, you won't see it again, or you delete it. Right? So I'm very particular about myself being added to spam lists. Sometimes companies send me email. I complain to them. And tell them, look, you can't send me email. It's like, if someone calls you and tries to sell you something, you have the right to say no. Right? You have the right to say no, because you are. So I'm very particular. There are some people and companies I've just called and said, look, don't send me emails. I didn't ask for emails from you. I'm unsolicited. So they have got my email from somewhere, but I say, don't do that. And actually, if you notice, there was once a situation, someone said, your email account is in your website, so we shared it from that. ඔයාගේ email එක තිබ්බා මේ ඔයාගේ website එකේ, ඒකෙන් ගත්තේ අපි. So in my email, my profile page on the university, right? This is on the only place my email address appears. Contact details, lasit@sjb.ac.lk is there. You can copy it, but it's, why is it written like this? Because to ensure that it can't be copied directly. So one second. So if you see what I mentioned here, right? I have written a legal disclaimer. Any email sent to the above address, which is this, with any evidence of personally being addressed to the recipient and contains information which is unsolicited in nature, would be considered as spam mail. Repeated sending of such messages from the same sender would be considered as email harassment under any law in the time is force. That is, I am saying here, if you are continuously going to send email, I will, although I might, well, technically not, I can legally take action against you, right? You are, it is like calling you and troubling you, so it's a harassment. So uh, under any law, so this is a legal I have got this drafted by one of our university colleagues who is a lawyer. um, because I'm telling, just because my email is here, that doesn't give you a right to write to me with spam, right? You, if you have question, you know, public, anyone can ask questions, that's not a problem, but you can't be selling, you know, we are trying to sell you plastic bottles, so let's say laptops, you know, if I say no, I don't want it, they should stop, right? So spam is a big issue in the world. Sometimes they are irrelevant content, sometimes they could also be dangerous emails, like, you know, which could um, which are linked to websites which might, you know, steal your data, things like that. So uh, sometimes there are password stealing applications, phishing attacks, things like that, you should know, right? So these are things that as given here, right? So these are things that you should be aware of, right? Better thing is, don't reply to them ever unless you know them. So if my rule of thumb is, if it's a Sri Lankan company, I will generally call, I will write to them. I sometimes message in Facebook saying, look, I did ask you. Sometimes I call banks and complain because I did ask you to send me email, so stop it. You have the right to say that. If it's a foreign company, I might just delete it and forget it because I know I can't take action against them. Right. So you noticed in my inbox there was less emails. I read them based on the importance. So every email I get, I might not read. Subject line is generally a good indicator, but not always. Uh, Sometimes I get emails which have no subject line. Uh, I am telling you for the first time, all of you, if you send me an email in the future which has no subject, I will just delete it. So මෙතනින් හැමෝම දැනගැනීම පිණිස මම කියන්නේ, මට ඊමේල් එකක් ආවොත් ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ බැච් එකේ කාගෙන් හරි ඒ ඊමේල් එකේ සබ්ජෙක්ට් එකක් නැත්තම් මම ඒක කෙලින්ම delete ඔබලා මකනවා. Now that I have told you how you should write emails, you should learn it, right? Unfortunately, I have got emails like that. And also, remember, subject line is not the email body. Subject line is ඔක්කොම දෙයක් දාන්නත් එපා. So I think I have written that. I think indicated it somewhere here. Hold on. Right? Wait. Don't click links in the email if you think it might be, you don't know who is sending it. තමන්ට එන email එක එන පුද්ගලයා විශ්වාස නැත්නම් email එකේ තියෙන attachments click කරන්න එපා. Just if it's someone you don't know, they might say, congratulations, winner of the $1 million lottery. Very unlikely that someone sends you $1 million in an email, so don't click the links, right? This is very important information, so I'll take a little time on this. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ වැඩි හරියක් අඩුපාඩු දකින්නේ මම මෙන්න මේ email යවනකොට, ඔයගොල්ලෝ එවනකොට. ඒ නිසා මේක වැදගත් කමින් අහන් ඉන්න. One, this is not happening often, but sometimes I've seen it. Don't use all caps or all capitals often, so it must be used sparingly. සම්පූර්ණ text එක capital වලින් දාන්න එපා. That's not a very that's in communication on electronic form, chat or text versions. So අපි සාමාන්‍ය chat කරනකොට හරි emails වල, if you put everything in all capitals, that is emphasizing things. If you are trying to want to say strongly, අපිට කෑ ගහලා කියන්න ඕන දෙයක් තමයි අපි capital වලින් දාන්නේ. නැත්නම් emphasize කරනවා. අපිට වැඩ විශේෂයෙන් සැලකිය යුතු දෙයක්. So if you say hello sir, how are you? Oh, hello sir, thank you. In all capital, that looks very uh, it's not professional. So you might not, usually all capitals make it difficult to read as well. So it's not often it's not used. So be aware of that issue, right? So in chat, for example, this is akin to shouting. Api chat karaddi. If you are familiar with chatting, if you type in all capitals, that's considered like shouting because you can't express shouting or loud talking in chat. Use a relevant subject line. No subject emails I send, I generally delete. Don't put your whole message in completely subject line. This also is unprofessional. This happened to me from your batch unfortunately. මම මෙතනදි කවුද කියලා කියන්නේ නැහැ. නමුත් ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ සමහර අය මට ඊමේල් එවනවා. ඊමේල් එකේ සබ්ජෙක්ට් එකේ විතරයි තියෙන ඔක්කොම දේවල් ටික. Sir, I can't log on to Office 365. My Coursera account is not working. What can I do? I replied for those. මම මේ දක්වා ඇත්තම reply කරා. Because but in future I might not reply. I might just say your email has nothing in your subject, so I will just delete it. I might say that the first time, right? If it's the first email you're sending, normally you need to address it properly or greet. So dear all, dear someone, likewise, it's good generally, right? But if it's someone you really know, you don't need to, you can skip that, right? If it's you are sending for some of your relatives, your family members, you might not need this, right? Emails generally need to be short and simple. So people read emails in phones today. So you are not going to send an essay in the email. පිටු 3-4ක email යවන්නේ නැහැ. තැපෑල යවන ලියුම් වගේ. So basically it needs to be short, right? If you are sending I mean other than for personal things that you are sending, you might have to keep it short. Another thing is, don't write all in one paragraph. These are normal things, like you have to break into paragraphs, that. And use bullets numbering to increase readability. When you have point form something, if you are giving some list of things or highlight some things, use bullets numbering to increase readability. That's very important, right? So I hope you will understand this and use this practice in your practice often, right? If there are any questions, right? So let me just ask a question to get how many questions, sorry, how many emails do you get read per day? තමන් දවසකදී emails කොච්චර වගේ කියවනවද? How many do you read and respond to? Nirosha, can you answer? Nirosha Jayaratna.
So I got disconnected and just joined. Please can
Yes,
you repeat?
no, how many emails do you normally get per day or read per day?
About 5, between 5 to 10.
Right. That is that all the emails you get or all the emails you read?
All the emails I get.
Yeah, well,
I don't read all the emails.
Correct. That's right. You don't need to. I mean, it's what you should read, what is relevant for you. There might be other spam mails or mails that are not worth reading. Maybe just the information purposes. So you don't need to read. Then how many do you respond to?
Sorry?
How many do you respond on a daily basis? How many do you write? How many emails do you write?
I don't write emails that often. So if it is email that require
right. Yeah. So yeah, in your case as students, I mean, unless you are really applying for some job or for some other special purpose, you might not actually get to write emails. But remember, as I said, it is okay. So thank you, Nirosha. Right. But in generally for so there's a question on from Rasangika. Let me answer that in a short time. So we are talking here still. And when you think of emails that you get, uh, of course, in your why I am saying this is when you are applying for jobs in around a year's time, these are very important. Of course, if the now like similar to if you are talking in English, if you the more frequent talker of English you are, the better your vocabulary would be, the better your fluency would be. Similarly, when you are writing, the more you write emails, the better you will be. You will learn from how others write to you. That's number one, right? I'm sure you get emails. So from that you can learn. If the more emails you get, you might learn new things from others if you are open to suggestions. So uh, replies sent to email can be shorter and even omit greetings if the sender is known well or a colleague or subordinate. This is often this is something I learned from one professor. Uh, that is, when you think of when an email is written to you, you don't need to always respond. Now I'll just give an example. Now I just go to email. Can you see my screen? So I got this email from your senior batch about the AGM. So this is there. It's been sent to everyone. So what I would do, I would respond. I would say reply. Remember, it's not now here. We'll come to this later. This email has been sent to all of our staff members, which is fine, right? The invitation is sent to all of our staff members. Now I might respond, thank you. Thank you will be there. I'm being a little informal here because I know Dulan well, and I'm just writing that. That's it. And what happens? This email now, when I get this email, I will. I know it's at what time? 27. So I will go to my calendar and I will go to Wednesday. It's already there. It's at AGM is there, so I know it's at that time. I will just archive this because I don't need to look at it anymore. Right. So replies can be short, right? But I didn't reply to all. I believe I replied only to Dulan in that case. So that's important because I don't need to all my department staff members to listen to my reply. There's no point, right? If there is a need, I will. But in that case, there was no need, so I just replied, not reply to all. Sending attachments. So when you think of emails, attachments can be there. So as you know, in any email account, there's a limit on the number of attachments that you can add. I think it's Gmail, I don't know, around 10 GB. Uh, sorry, 10 MB. But if there are other email accounts might have different amount. Large attachments can be sent as drive shares like Google Drive or Dropbox or OneDrive. You can link them and send the link. There are other sites which you can file share the link. If there are PDF files, you can compress them. As you know, PDF files like a CV, which has a lot of pictures, you can compress it online so that it gets smaller in size. This is very important. Name attachments accordingly. This is something I often see mistakes from students. You are sending an application to company. You are sending the file name as mycv.pdf, which is not good. Everyone will send like mycv. So you should use your name like ABC Pera or some KYC Silva or AB Jagaradhan or whatever, right? So you have to use that form. Again, don't put all capital, use it in a reasonable form that is easy to read. Refer to attachments in the mail body. I am sending a CV as an attachment to this email. Please find my CV attached. අපි ඊමේල් එකක් යවනවා නම් CV එකක් attach කරලා ඒක refer කරන්න. ලියන email එකේ. Not in the subject, okay? It should be in the mail body. mail එක ලියන අතරේ කියන්න මෙහෙම මේ file එක attach කරලා තියෙනවා. මේකේ මගේ CV එක තියෙනවා. Don't just say please find attachment. Mention what it's about. සමහර අය ඉන්නවා, sir, please find attachment. They send it to me. Now I must open it to see what it is. That's bad. Before opening, I should know what it is about. Maybe if it was sent, if I call someone and say, "But our file so if I say someone, can you send me that file that the design which you did?" Then if he sends me that, this is fine. If I'm expecting this, this is fine. Otherwise, this is not very good. So in the university also, there are people, employees who don't use this properly. So again, I will take some examples of emails that I got, bad emails. I actually collect bad emails to show people like you. Every year I do this. I hope you can see my screen. Yes. So here, under my list of things, I have saved spam. Actually, it's not spam. I have a lot of emails sent by people uh, which are, uh, some for some reason. Now, this email uh, is sent from the student union long time back, right? 2017 අපේ ශිෂ්‍ය සංගමේ මට ආපු ඊමේල් මට හා අනික් අයට. So this is an example for bad email. මේ විදිහට ඊමේල් යවන්න ශිෂ්‍ය සංගමේ තියා කවුරු කැම්පස් ස්ටුඩන්ට්ස්ලා මම හිතන්නේ හොඳ නැහැ. මේකේ වැරදි මොනවද තියෙන්නේ? This has a subject. So it says වේදිකාවෙන් මහ පොළොවට. Right? That's fine. So therefore I will open it. But then there is no body. මේක ඇතුලේ මුකුත් නැහැ. So when I get the email, there's a heading, but there's nothing inside. And then there's an attachment. What's the attachment name? Can you see? KKKKKKK PDF. So I will not open this. I don't think it's worth. I don't open this. Right? So this is a poor email. Next year, the email student unit is a little better. Now their email is with a reasonably named file. So actually, student union is getting better, right? If you see here, again, this one has a reasonable heading. It's in Sinhala, of course. It has a meaning, but again, there's no text in the middle, right? So those are emails like that. Then there are emails that come like this. Right now, this email is forwarded banner photo. I don't know what it is sent for me. Registrar of the university is this long time back again. Sends it to everyone in the university. So again, these are bad email examples. So I don't want to open all of the emails, but these are examples of email. So this is another bad email, right? The whole description is in the subject. The may සම්පූර්ණ විස්තරය තියෙන subject එකේ. මෙහෙම email එවන එක those are I've saved them. I saved them so that I can at least explain it to others. Right? Make it body එකේ මුකුත් නැහැ. See? The body has no emails. Right? So don't. Did you see the screen? Did you see my Gmail screen? Yes, right? Okay, thank you. So I was wondering. Thank you, Afan Rashanka. So when you are sending emails, use carbon copy and blind carbon copy appropriately. Use carbon copy when you want to copy to others that you want to know the sender is informed. For example, if I am sending it, let's say if I am sending, let's say someone asks me for some exam result related question, then I might copy the reply to you to my head of department. So අපි අධ්‍යනාංශ ප්‍රධානතුමාට සමහරවිට copy කරනවා emails, right? So I should know that he should know that I'm sending it to him. Blind carbon copy is sent like when you're sending an invitation, you could use BCC actually. If I'm sending it to like sometimes, not like if you want to protect the identity of the senders, ලැබෙන පුද්ගලයාගේ එකිනෙකනාගේ email එක අනික් අයට පේන්න ඕනේ නැත්තම්. So if you want to protect the email of the receivers from others who receive it, you can use BCC. You can now how I used to email you nowadays is I use this mailing group, a Google group. So it's easier for me to manage because I don't have to type your emails all the time. You can actually use a list of emails. You can actually have lists on Google as well. But I use the Google group because you can then check the emails if you want later on. In your email, at the bottom of your email, you can use yes, there's a question about the Google group. So So these Google groups are there when you want to set emails to a number of people, like as a like a study group. So that helps because if you want, that helps to manage. Now how the Google group is set up is I can send it, but I think you can't send it back to the me. If you want, you can reply me directly, but not through the group. So it's a like if you have groups of emails to be sent out, you can manage the list of people who get it. Other people don't know who's getting it. For example, in your group, in that case I'm hiding your identities. If you have sent me an email, මට කවුරුහරි ඔයගොල්ලෝ email එකක් කරලා තිබ්බොත්, you will get at the bottom any email I send out. Usually, if it is not from my phone, මගේ phone එකකින් නොවෙනවා නම්, you will see this appearing. This is called the signature. So this gives important information about who I am and how to get through to me. So phone numbers in the university, these are phone numbers, not my mobile phone number. The email address, my website, another something called a researcher ID, then my links to Facebook, my page, LinkedIn, Twitter, and this is Instagram is linked here, right? So this sort of thing even you can do if you want to tell. Let's say you can say your name, undergraduate, Faculty of Management Studies and Commerce, University of Javadipur, and you put your email or some website or blog. You can have that's professional. Even as an undergraduate, you can have that sort of thing. You can have a LinkedIn page and add series. So this is actually added from a free site called Ystamp. These graphics are added from a free site called Ystamp. There are others which you can get this sort of colorful signature. Otherwise, you can just include it in under settings. Google under Gmail settings, you can set up a signature. Abbreviations. These are often used in emails. So you should know what these are. How many of you know what ASAP means? Can you type? What does ASAP stand for? Yes. BCC is carbon copy, blind carbon copy. EOD. Anyone? I want this by EOD. I want this replied by EOD. What would it be? So EOD is end of day. FYI. Have you seen this? FYI is what? Anyone? Yeah, for your information. Right? For your information. FFYY. Forwarded for your information. This is something I often use. Now, sometimes I forward it. Now, recently, I think one student of your batch wanted to know maybe about a course somewhere in information security. Then I probably may have, I don't think I used it there, but then if one later on I will use things like FFY. Then you should know what is forwarded for your information. තව කෙනෙකුට තමන්ට ආපු email එක forward කරද්දී අපිට මේ FFYI කියලා එකක් දෙනවා. Why are we doing this? We are saving time. You might, when you're typing information in the phone, you might use this, but it's normally expected to be within a like same level peers. තමන්ගේ බොස්ට email එක යවද්දී සාමාන්‍ය මේ වගේ දේවල් කරනකොට පරිස්සමින්. So it's good as to learn. They might send you something like your superior, but maybe sometimes you might not send it for everyone depending on how some people don't know what these are. Now let's say you are sending this email to a boss in a company, a person who is not even using a smartphone. Email එකක් යවනවා තමන් company manager අවුරුදු 55යි. එයා තාම පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ පරණ අර feature phone එකක්. එහෙම අය කෙනෙකුට මේ වගේ if you send a message like this to a person who doesn't use a phone, smartphone that is, they might not understand what these are. So forward for your information. This is forward again. NRN is no reply needed. PS is postscript. That is at the bottom of the email you add something. What does AFAIK stand for? As far as I know, So LOL is often used in chat, laugh out loud, right? So you find all of these. Well, I'm not going to talk of each of these. You can find them out, but I'll just go through it. So at the end, these are other things you might have come across. Then BR is like best regards. This is something I often use, and R is regards. At the end of the email, we might use TIA, thank you in advance, thanking uh, you in advance, and RSVP. RSVP is used in invitations, the French word. If you are supposed, when you send an invitation, you might send it RSVP. That means if they are coming, they should actually confirm whether they are coming or not. So these are things you should know. Right? Google up the others and find out. I'm going to tell you, you can easily find this out. In emails, we use, we need sometimes when you want to show emotions, happy or angry or something like that, you might use this, right? So it's a common form of since you can't use text, there are some text. There are text versions of these as well, but you know. Sometimes depends on who is receiving it. So you might, there are other, I mean, if you are familiar with chatting in WhatsApp or Viber or other things, you are familiar with using this anyway. Uh, this is something you might not use often, autoresponders, because you might not uh, actually need this. Now, I use autoresponders several times. Uh, the idea is I am not checking email for a few days, or I might not check often. I'm traveling, I'm in a vacation, or I'm not well. So then I might use an autoresponder and say, look, I'm out of office. I'll be responding on this date. Or I might say, look, I'm not going to check email today because I'm busy with something. If you have some urgent thing, you contact this person, right? So if you are directly working with customers, you might need to say, give an answer as to how they can get a response, right? You have to switch on this. If you check on Google, there is an option on the settings for setting up autoresponders. You can set up message, and then you have to switch it off when you don't need it. Now the problem is sometimes students set up. I've seen autoresponder set up. They don't switch it off after they come back to work. That means automatically. What's the idea of autoresponder? When you get an email, the autoresponder automatically replies. You don't have to reply. It's auto like a recorded conversation like format thing. So autoresponders are good to keep to manage your own uh, like to manage expectations, right? So there was a question which I will still I haven't asked. I will just respond to go to the end and answer these questions. This is also something you should know, but probably not right now needed. Don't use company emails for personal correspondence. That is, let's say you are working as an intern. ඔගොල්ලෝ දැන් ලබන අවුරුද්දේ internship වලට යනවා. Or rather at the end of this year, right? Okay. So next year. When you start working for a company, you don't use the company email given to you for personal purposes. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් ආයතනයෙන් ලබා දෙන email address පුද්ගලික වැඩවලට යොදා ගන්න එක පරිස්සමින් කරන්න ඕනේ. Due to number of reasons. One is could be illegal, so the company might not allow that. Secondly, the company might read it. Now, when you say read it, they don't actually. It could depend. Right? Some companies they won't. Sometimes they could physically access the email and read it through copies. That can be done if the company owns the email account. Then the second thing is even if you leave, after you leave, your email account is not deleted. You can't delete your email account. The company will usually save your emails, although you can't access it. So if there's a problem later on, they can investigate. සමහර ආයතනකින් තමයි email account එකක් දුන්නොත් බොහෝ විට ඒක මකන්නේ නැහැ යනකොට. Right? If a company leaves organization, emails are not deleted. They are kept, but you can't access the account. Account එක login වෙන්න බැරි වෙයි. හැබැයි email පරණ යවපු ඒවා ඔක්කොම තියෙයි. මොනවාරි ප්‍රශ්නයක් වුණොත් investigate කරන්න පුළුවන්. So that usually happens with email accounts. So also when you are typing emails, if it's on a smartphone, of course you might make typing mistakes. That's understood today. සමහර අපි type කරද්දී අකුරක් දෙකක් වරදිනවා. Right? Those are okay. But then if you are really writing a professional email, like let's say you are applying for a job, right? You are sending your CV, then of course you should, ensure that the email has no spelling mistakes, because that might look bad, right? Okay. Um, Going back to email, uh, email productivity is something I often consider important for me. So what I do is so let me give an idea about how many emails I've sent uh, this year, rather last year. Right. So this is my last year email. I'm using a software called Email Meter, which is connected to my email account, lasit@sjp.ac.lk. So it shows here how many emails I have sent. I have sent 4,215 emails in the last year. So if you divide that by 365, I have sent more than 10 emails a day. Altogether, however, I have sent them to 869 recipients, only uniquely 869. Average response time across all these 4,000 emails, I only taken less than a day, like half a day to respond. That is, every email on average has gone in less than 14 hours from I've been receiving it. That's shows how productive I am usually in email. I received 10,192 emails though. What, can you see the difference? I don't respond to all emails. I have got 1,371 people sending me 1,000 this accounts, but only reply to 4,000. I've sent only 4,215. Right. So what time do I reply to email? Can you say I send emails? I don't send emails normally from 1 to 6. I'm usually sleep, right? So I'm not obviously connecting to email on that time. Like I will get emails, right? I will get emails, as you can see here. That depends on where the origin is. And you see here, I don't like early hours, I don't respond often. But maybe 11, 12 is the time I mostly respond to emails. 11, 10, 11, 12. So early morning, I'm not responding. I do respond, but not often. Right? Then also, again, my emails, daytime, I don't check often. But then in the night, 9 to 10, I might reply to other emails. Right? So you see here also, this is the frequency of emails I've sent. So at least you see here, January, February, likewise. In June, I've sent a lot of emails around. And then coming to the end of the year, I've sent a lot of more emails. Right? Time before first response. That is, if someone sends me an email, how time I've sent. So out of these emails I've sent, I think this is the amount of emails for the response. Less than 15 minutes. As you see, majority of emails I've sent is less than 15 minutes. Quick first response. If I get an email, I'll respond in less than 15 all this. So the quickest response is 0 seconds. That means as soon as I got it, I said yes or no, something like that. Right? Average first response 10 hours. Right? So I sent and not reply to some email. So this is, as I said, there are some emails which I don't need to respond. And so these are the people I've sent often emails with. One of them is the student association president. So I sent him, he sent me 304 emails and I sent 144. So, and so on. Right. So these are analytics from my email account. Right. So I can actually check monthly reports, right? For per month, every month I can check. January is not there, but December, for example, I can check. So December I've sent 738 messages, 276 average response to this much, and likewise I will see the same patterns, right? Messages received. So some days are more, some days are high, right? So this sort of information can be checked from an email account, right? So You can also use tools from Gmail, for example, to mail merge. You are familiar with mail merging in Word. Similarly, you can mail merge emails to people. If you are sending a professional email, like an invitation to individual people, you could use mail merge. It takes time, but it can be done. අපිට 100 දෙනෙකුට යවන්න ඕන email එකක් ඒ පුද්ගලයාගේ නම හා වෙනත් තොරතුරු දාලා. Right? Let's say for exam, you are inviting people, putting their admission number. You can use mail merging in email. Gmail supports mail merging. There are limits, like free accounts, I think 50. Uh, so this is something you are familiar with. Okay. Now, what are the things? What are things that you can do with email? I think there are a lot of things that you can understood. Uh, so I'll just show something which I learned. This is something, who is this person? The former world's richest person, right? Can you see the screen? I think you can, right? Jeff Bezos. So I'll just share this thing on the chat. It's just so Jeff Bezos has his email, jeff@amazon.com, right? It is publicly available, right? And he says, yes, correct. I see a lot of them, right? So he says, uh, you know, now you don't just wish him for Christmas, so something like that. That's not the idea. The idea is given if a customer writes to with a problem. Now Amazon is a huge company, right? It's but if a customer is unsatisfied with what he has got from Amazon, he can write, right? Uh, so you can complain, right? And he takes this seriously. So the question is, the famous thing that it said is, when he gets an email, if he wants someone to write to that, he replies with a question mark to the appropriate person. Let's say he wants no. So I why I took this as an example is because back in around 2015, I wrote him an email. Actually, I had to write because I had a situation which wasn't solved with Amazon customer support. Let me bring up this email. Okay. Now, why I'm telling this is the power of email, right? That's the one I want to show. So this is can you see my screen? Okay, right? So here, this is something I sent in 2015 to jeff@amazon.com. Dear Jeff, I don't know whether you read this personally, but I'm hoping someone responds. I am a customer of this for several years. I also have an Amazon account. I find that this, I can't log into this. I'm in Japan, but I can't use to this. And then I wrote to Amazon Japan with a response, but it has this explanation. The language, the operating system, it's possible that, I'm sure Amazon Japan can serve me better than this, just because my, it's a problem because I was in Japan, but I can't connect to their service using English, right? So I've also chatted to customer support in Japan, but he hasn't been able to solve this either. And he's asked me to wait till he provides a solution via email. So this was sent Thursday, November 5th, 2015. Right? It's sent to Jeff at Amazon. So that's the same email across worldwide, right? Then 6th, right? This is 5th morning, 6th by 3 p.m. That is maybe 36 hours later, I am getting an email from Amazon. I am a member of Amazon JP's executive customer relations teams. Our team received a copy of your email sent to Jeff Bezos at Amazon, and I am writing to respond, and he's apologizing, right? Uh, so so it takes so then Amazon Japan got back to me and solved this problem. So now um, that's the power of email. Of course, I have written an email. As you can see, I put things down and I've written it in a nice way. I've written a reasonable headline. Cloud Drive desktop software manager takes me in Amazon.com authentication. So it's pretty reasonable explanation. So it got sold. So I don't know whether Jeff Bezos read it, and I really don't care. But then I like the way the company operated. Any customer who's unsatisfied with something which seriously is a problem. This is not a joke. Um, so it can you can help. You can get help, right? So email is very powerful if you use it properly. The best thing you should know is you should know how to write professionally, right? It's a bit of English. I mean, you need to write it in uh, reasonable good English, but then more than that, you should write it to the appropriate person in the appropriate way, right? So there was one question on uh, email about I think Rasangika wanted to check what is syncing email. So usually when you think of email accounts, your phone usually gets copies of your email server's information. So sometimes if there are large emails, it might need to there's a process called synchronizing or syncing, which will actually be need to be taking place between your mailbox in the server and your mobile app, right? So if this syncing is sometimes you can disconnect this to save power. Then what happens? You will not see the new emails. So if syncing is enabled, you will see. So I hope the clarification to I think it's Rasanka. Uh, yeah, is it's clear. Any other questions on email?